Hello my wonderful, beautiful friends, guys. Welcome back to r/entitled people, where boy oh boy, parents are just giving away their little ones for money. Guys, it's such a crazy lineup today. The title story is outrageous. I'm still mad and full of emotions after being shared it, so heads up, your blood might boil today. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the lineup today. Hit subscribe if you haven't. And as always, you can send or link your Reddit post to this email right here, and Steve-O will eventually read them. Alright, I work at a car dealership as a receptionist. I'm a very professional artist on the side, and I've been very busy with some commissions lately. So since it's not busy at the dealership, I started working on my iPad mini. Now, my iPad is old, and I'm currently working on upgrading it, but I currently can't afford to. So I live with it, despite the battery life being really short, and I basically have to keep it plugged in at all times. During my lunch, I was in the waiting area doing some more work, when a kid, a little girl no older than 4 years old, comes up to me and she watches me work. Now this does happen a lot when I draw in public, and usually the kids just ask a lot of questions. But this girl was really quiet and she had a look of amazement, so I just let her be. Her mother, the entitled mom in the story, was nearby at a salesman's desk. She was working on purchasing a new car, which is a long and no doubt boring process. The sales guy working with her then walked away to do something. And that's when she looks over at me and her kid and she asked, "Hey, what are you looking at?" Her kid then points at my screen and says, "Look, she's painting puppies." I then sort of show my screen to her and she asks her kid if she wants to draw, which the girl then excitedly says yes. Now I expected Karen to pull out a paper or pencils or at least ask if I could get some for her too, but she just looked at me expectantly. When I realized that she was just waiting for me to hand her my iPad, I said to her, "Oh, she can't use mine, but I can get her a notepad and pens." And apparently that wasn't good enough. The woman sighs and says, "Ugh, just let her draw a bit, I'm almost done anyway." Which I knew for a fact wasn't true. They were working on a bank approval for a loan, which can take anywhere between 5 to 30 minutes. And even then, they'll be here longer for the finance paperwork, details, etc. I start to explain that this is a part of my work, and she scoffs saying that I'm just doodling puppies, and it's selfish that I won't let her daughter doodle on my device. The poor girl was just looking at her hands, looking quite embarrassed. I then pretended my lunch was over, got up, and spent the rest of my lunch at my desk. Now I couldn't see her behind the huge truck on display, but I can hear her grumbling to her daughter about who knows what. So sometime later, nature called me, and I got up to use the bathroom. I left my iPad on my seat so it'll stay plugged in, and then I put a notepad over it to try to cover it up somehow. My desk is a wide crescent shape, with no drawers to keep things safe, so this was the best I could do to somewhat hide it. I was away no longer than 3 minutes, but when I got back, only my charger remained. Yep, my iPad and Apple Pencil were gone. I then look over to the woman, who had her large purse suspiciously in her lap now, instead of on the floor beside her chair like it was before. I was panicked because a lot of my work is on that iPad that I needed. So I go to my sales manager and told him the situation. He told me he would take care of it. So I go back to my desk full of anxiety and my stomach was doing backflips. The sales manager then went to the desk where the woman was. They were far enough that I can hear their voices, but not pinpoint what they're saying. But I did eventually hear her yell, "How dare you? I would never steal. Do you want to lose this sale?" I immediately got up and went behind the lady so the sales manager could see me, but she couldn't. He tells her that he understands, but my iPad went missing and he wants to make sure that no one currently in the building has it. That's when I remember the Find My feature on all Apple products. My iPad was connected to the dealer's Wi-Fi, so I pulled out my iPhone and pressed play sound for my iPad.
And her purse started dinging.
Now, the woman tried to play it off as if it's her ringtone, and the sales manager just stares at her as if daring her to answer it. Now, the thing is, with the play sound feature, if I keep pressing it, it'll keep pinging. And I made my presence known and told her to give my iPad back. And that's when she stops playing dumb and she says, "Just let my daughter have it. I can't afford to buy her one since I'm getting a car. Do you want me to buy a car from you?" The sales manager then said that he was happy to cancel the deal so she can instead buy a present for her child and to return my iPad or he's gonna call the police. Now, she practically throws my iPad back at me and takes her daughter from the waiting area to leave. The poor girl looked at me with the most apologetic look on her face before leaving with her mother. And from now on, I'm not allowed to bring my iPad to the dealership. I have to either leave it in my car or leave it at home. Whatever. The woman also stole my Apple Pencil since she left in a hurry, so I'm gonna stop by the Apple store after work to get a new one. But until then, I'm stuck with my pens and my notepad. Guys, talk about being super duper duper entitled. I'm buying a car, so the least you can do is let me steal this girl's iPad. Do you want to lose the sale? Like, that's entitled people logic for you guys. So OP does come back with an update that says, so it's been a stressful week. I came back to work on my day off on Monday to talk to the police. The woman apparently doesn't live in the county. She came here to try to buy a car that isn't available in her area, so they had to reach out to the police department there to talk to her. They also took my info and told me to fill out a police report so they can get started, which I did. The woman was then contacted and told to either give the pencil back or she can be charged with theft. Now, I don't know what her reaction was, whether she went to the police or they went to her or what kind of conversation they had, but I do know she handed over the pencil. 2 of her county cops just came into the dealer and gave me my pencil back. They then told me that next time, if I can do it myself, then I should confront the woman myself because I was capable of doing so because of the info we had on her. However, they did say that they can proceed with charges for theft if I wish to do so. But they say that I should think about her child and that she returned the pencil anyway. Okay, so with reading that update, I gotta say that I've never had anything stolen from me that needed police involvement, so I really don't know how it goes. But did you guys find it weird that the police just said, oh, next time, if someone steals from you, just confront them to get it back. If you have the information, don't waste our time. And hey, also don't press charges because she has a child and she returned the pencil. Like, I don't know if they said that because it was like $100 Apple Pencil versus something more expensive, but someone tell me, is that how things really work when you have to deal with cops? Okay, so to start off, I'm a huge 49ers fan. The rabid all-day tailgate in the parking lot type. A few years ago, we made it back to the Super Bowl, and I was working at a consulting firm with a handful of accounts that I would interact with directly. So this one client in particular knew how big of a Niners fan I was. I was the day-to-day lead on his account. He really liked working with me, and we became friends, often grabbing drinks or dinner after meetings. He had access to a pair of extra company seats to the game, and as a thank you, he wanted to give them to me as a gift. So he passed the tickets over to the partner on that account, who I'll refer to as Dickhead Partner, to be given to me as a surprise. So the game came and went, we lost, and it sucked. The next time we met, we went to drinks afterwards, and he mentioned, hey, by the way, why didn't you go to the game? I heard someone else was in your seats. I then asked him, what game? He then said, the Super Bowl. Now I was confused, and I answered, I didn't have seats to the Super Bowl. He then told me that he gave Dickhead Partner a pair of his company tickets for me as a gift so I could attend. Now I had zero idea what he was talking about, and he looked shocked. He told me to quietly ask around about it and get back to him. So when I went back to the office the next week, I found out through one of the secretaries that Dickhead Partner had given the pair of Super Bowl tickets to another one of his clients as a gift from him. Now, to be honest, I might have let this sort of thing go to keep the peace under different circumstances. But these were seats on the 30-yard line to see the effing 49ers play in the Super Bowl, and I was pissed. I was considering confronting the idiot myself. But I realized that it was the client who noticed I wasn't there in the first place. So if I let him handle it, there would be no blowback on me. So I text him and say, hey, I just want to thank you so much for thinking of me with those seats. It appears that they were given to another one of our firm's clients. He then texted back right away in all caps and says, are you kidding me? He then texts me, pretend I never told you and let me handle this. He followed up with me about formulating a plan. And a few days later, we were asked to come down for a meeting in their office. The client requested the partner be present, which wasn't entirely unusual. So Dickhead Partner and I hopped on a flight next week and we head to their office. But little did he know, my client had orchestrated a wonderfully awkward little show to catch him red-handed. When we entered the conference room, it was all the usual suspects, along with a woman in her 30s, which we didn't recognize. My client immediately introduces and says, Dickhead Partner, this is Stephanie so-and-so, VP from the other department. She wanted to sit in on this meeting. He then looks at me and says, "Oh, hey OP, you must already know her from the Super Bowl." She then responds as she goes to shake my hand, I don't think so. Did we meet there? I'm sorry if I forgot." My client responds, "Geez, Steph, how much did you have to drink? They were sitting right next to you." Client looks at me and I say, sorry, I wasn't there. Are you thinking of someone else?" At this point, dickhead partner is looking very uncomfortable, probably trying to come up with an excuse. He then starts with an, and that's when Stephanie says over him, "No, actually so-and-so from the other company were in their seats. By the way, I was wondering why we gave company seats to those guys. Is that a project we're working on with them that I don't know about?" Now, I do want to note that they were in completely different industries. It would be like Coca-Cola partnering with John Deere. Dickhead partner then lets out an, again, and that's when the client immediately speaks over him asking, "Hey, I gave those tickets to OP." At this point, partner's turning bright red, and he responds, yeah, well, he wasn't able to make it, so he must have given the seats away to someone else." He then turns to me looking for confirmation and for me to cover for him. And that's when the client smirks at me, and I respond, what are you talking about? "Hey, client, you gave me tickets to the Super Bowl?" The client suddenly raises his voice and says, "Hey, those tickets were a personal thank you gift from me to OP. Did you give them away to someone else? Was it another client?" At this point, dickhead partner butts in with, maybe something got mixed up in the office and they just went to someone else." The client then went quiet for what probably seemed like an eternity to dickhead partner. He then looked down, grabbed his portfolio and iPad, put them into his briefcase and said, "I think this meeting is over." He then looks at me and says, "OP, it seems that I owe you a thank you gift, so let's go to lunch. Stephanie, you're welcome to join. Dickhead partner, I need to evaluate this relationship. Please go back home and expect to hear from us next week." The idiot suggests that he would like to join, presumably to do damage control, and that's when Stephanie sternly tells him, "I don't think that's a good idea," and asks the front desk to see dickhead partner out. As soon as he's in the elevator, we all break out laughing hysterically. Now, Stephanie wasn't really a VP, she was just an employee at the company who client had drafted into helping with this planned meeting skit. But she did end up coming to lunch with us, and she was a fellow Niners fan and a total blast to hang out with. On our way to the restaurant, I got a desperate text from dickhead partner saying, "Hey, you need to cover for the firm," and that we could discuss things when I got back. I replied, "Yes, we do need to talk, but I'll see what I can do." The client told me to wait a couple of hours and then respond to him, number one, to expect the invoices for the resale value of the Super Bowl tickets, which is way above face value, it's over $10,000, as well as our lunch, and that he expected them to be paid immediately. Number two, expected I be given a direct apology. Number three, expected a written apology to his company for what he considered theft. And number four, from now on, he's only interacting with me or another one of our firm's partners, and never with dickhead partner ever again. The whole thing did cause a stir with the other partners, and I actually came off looking great, because it appeared that I had made a good faith effort to save the client for the firm, despite being the victim in the situation. The client would also transfer to another partner, which meant that dickhead partner lost his profit share on any work with them. Oh, and the other partners in the firm made dickhead partner pay the invoices out of his salary. In retrospect, I really have no idea what the heck the guy was thinking. Like, did he seriously believe the client would just not notice me thanking him for Super Bowl tickets? Anyways, the well was kind of poison for me, because long-term, dickhead partner wasn't going anywhere. I left the firm a couple of months later for a much better position. The client ultimately ended their relationship with that firm a year later. He actually now works with a good friend of mine at a competing firm, and I'm still pissed that I missed out on the Super Bowl even though we lost. Go Niners. Yeah, so imagine the type of person you'd have to be to steal a $10,000 ticket that was meant for someone to give to someone else to make yourself look good. But hey guys, that's the business world for you. It's a dog-eat-dog world, and some people are just super sleazy guys to line their own pockets. And I'm glad the guy got embarrassed and lost the clients and all the profits from them. Okay, so the last post is crazy, guys, and it's actually OP getting on Reddit and desperately asking for help with his situation. Okay, I'm a 14-year-old male, I'm American, but I live in Asia. I'm being vague because I don't want this traced back to me if the situation is as bad as it seems. Now, I don't know if I should give some sort of background or anything, but up until 7 months ago, I lived with my mom, who's 39 years old, and my dad, who's 41, plus my little sister, who's 9. Now, I say was because my sister's no longer here. She's in boarding school, apparently. Now, I want to preface this by saying that we're not bad kids. We're half white, half Asian, and when my grandpa on my dad's side got sick 4 years ago, we moved here so my dad could take care of him. Me and my sister worked hard to learn the language, and despite her age, she actually caught on better than me, and I was so impressed with her. Now, the issue began with Grandma. She would really look down on my sister, and I love my sister, and I didn't like it one bit. My mom said it's cultural, and I shouldn't make a fuss about it, but it was really hard when Grandma starts making it really obvious, like she got me clothes, games, etc., but my sister got no attention from her. I should also mention that 4 years ago, we lived with Grandma and Grandpa when we came here. And in that time of me getting spoiled, my sister often got reprimanded for everything she did. I swear, it was super unfair, you wouldn't believe. Now, just under a year ago, Grandpa passed away, and my parents decided that we would stay here since I speak the language and read pretty fluently. Grandma would often speak to everyone saying how rude and unladylike my sister is, and my parents just went along with it when I completely think it's wrong. So 7 months ago, her and Grandma went out, and my parents said that she'd be going to boarding school for the summer. Just the summer. After 3 months, I got anxious and worried about my sister, and I asked when she'd be back. And that's when my mom starts crying at the question. My dad then talks to me and says that my sister loved boarding school so much that she didn't want to come back, and she might never come back. Now, I have no idea how boarding school works, and it gets worse. After 5 months, I still hadn't gotten any contact. There was no messaging, no letters, nothing. And that's when Dad starts making her room into his office space. Now, we actually got into a big fight over it, and I demanded to know where my sister was, and nobody would tell me. He never answered why he was doing it or if she'd ever be back. Anyways, it's now been 7 months since that car trip that took my sister away, and the final nail in the coffin hit. I was looking through the attic for my mom, and I found a box with some of my sister's old stuff, including her phone. Like, why would she not have her phone? I really just want to know if there's anything I can do. Like, no one will tell me which boarding school she's at, and I'm told not to worry about it because I'm just a child and I'm so worried. I know I'm too young to do much, but if there's anything I can do, please help. When I think about it, I can't stop remembering the way my mom cried that day, and it makes me shiver. I've been imagining the worst, and I would hate it if it ended up being something along my mind. Update. Now, I should get on with the most important part of the update, what I finally ended up doing. So thanks to the super community that's Reddit, I was able to get in touch with a few different sources. The least favorite of which was a phone call towards those that help find trafficked children. Now, I knew my family would be investigated and actually went to meet up with another family in that time. So basically, a Redditor close to my age who I'll keep private met up with me, and she's already showed my story to her family. They ended up letting me stay with them for a bit and made the proper calls to make sure it wasn't illegal. I actually even specified that I wasn't running away from home and I would come back after the investigation. That didn't sit so well with authorities, and I was actually forced to go back home, but it only got stranger from there. So I went back home to a completely empty house. Even Grandma was gone. So I was allowed to stay with the other family for the time being. They were extremely kind, and for a week I didn't get any news, and bless her mother's heart, I was told I had a home here no matter what the results. So a few days after a week had passed, I get a call, and it turns out they found my sister. My whole family had been taken in for questioning, and they were placed in holding for quite a while. I'm not sure why they didn't tell me this immediately though. I don't actually know the full story, but my sister was living close to 700 kilometers away. Yeah, it was nearly a whole day's drive. And it wasn't summer school or boarding school or anything like that. My dad sold her to get married. My mom was off the hook, as number one, I still needed a parent, and number two, she wasn't in on it until it was a decent way in. My dad and grandma have been arrested though, and I'm back living with my mom and sister now. I'm still in contact with a Redditor that let me stay with her, and I'll forever be grateful. I have no idea what would have happened if I was around when authorities came knocking, so she's my angel. On a more depressing note, my sister doesn't speak much. She said she felt abandoned and alone, among other things. But seeing how I and plenty of strangers gave their hearts for her made her feel very happy, so thank you all. this isn't over by a long shot. Like, there's things that are still gonna happen, but I have my sister, and that's all thanks to you, Reddit. Thank you. Oh my goodness, guys, like, it makes my blood boil to think about what the mom, dad, and grandma did, guys. And as a parent, how the heck can you do that to your own daughter? Like, I couldn't imagine how terrifying it was for that girl who's 9 years old to be told by her parents, well, you gotta go live with this family now forever. You're getting married to, some random person. Like, I don't have words to describe the dad and grandmother, the grandma especially. And the mom, like, I don't know whether to feel bad for her or not, because there's no way she didn't know about this. And Obi did mention by the time she did find out, like, it was too far in. Like, if I were in her shoes, I'd be going to the police, telling my husband, F you, F your family, I'm gonna call the cops, and I'm finding my daughter. Like, I cannot believe this, and I'm so sad, but at the same time, I'm really happy to know that OP was such a caring big brother and got his sister back safe and sound. And this person comments, I was born in a country which girls disappearing isn't abnormal, and nobody even cares, not even the police. If we do try to help, they take us back to our male guardian who just abuses us. I was getting marriage proposals from pedos since I was a kid because I had lighter skin than average. Girls where I live are commonly honor killed too, and that almost happened to me, until I ran away and asked for asylum in Europe. I'm still dealing with the trauma, and stories like this hurt too much. So yeah, reading a lot of comments from this post, like, so many people are sharing what it's like living in places like this, and a lot of them just say, yep, this is what happens and it's normal, and it breaks my heart, guys. So if you're listening and you live in a place where this kind of stuff doesn't happen, just take the time to be grateful and thankful for everything you've got, because I sure as heck am. And that, my friends, brings us to another end of our / entitled people, where the stories keep getting more and more insane. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's stories. If you did, hit the thumbs up, and if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing so you don't miss these crazy, crazy stories. And if you missed the last episode on the channel, it's an r/I don't work here lady, where a crazy idiot attacks OP's wife for not serving him, and he gets taught the most painful lesson ever. So go check it out if you haven't, and myself and Stevie Boy will see you guys in the next one. We love you.